Scrooge the AV director. He's miserly as can be. He'll cut a cable, trim a cord to save a little fee. Our projectors flicker out of sync, the mics are static-y. And Scrooge says, good enough for now. What more should AV be? Oh, tidings of budget slashing and cables patched with tape. Screens are small, using videotape. The faculty, they beg and plead, our classes need this gear. But Scrooge will laugh, he'll scoff and sneer, the budget's tight this year. He'd rather push some bargain bin than see our systems clear. While echo, hum, and hiss abound, no sound to students' ears. Oh, tidings of budget slashing and cables patched with tape. Our screens are small, our audio dull, still using videotape. Bob Cratchit works with all his might to fix what's falling through. He tries to get the cameras right while rebooting by 2. Some holiday would be so nice, he mumbles tired and blue. But Scrooge just growls, our tech's just fine, it's only needing glue. Oh, tidings of budget slashing and cables patched with tape. Our screens are small, our audio dull, still using videotape. So faculty and students wait, their patience running thin, while Scrooge still guards each penny saved like some great treasured win. But little does he know tonight the spirits will begin to show him how a changed up tune could let true learning in. Oh, tidings of future blessings and AV's bright new fate. With screen so clear and sound so crisp, no longer second rate.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very special production of an AV Christmas Carol. In this story, we journey to a modern university campus where technology hums, classrooms glow, and faculty fight bravely against dim projectors and crackling microphones. At the center of it all is a man, E.B. Scrooge, a grumpy AV director who believes that good enough for AV is good enough for anyone. But tonight, the spirits of the past, the present, and the future will challenge Scrooge to rethink his ways and rediscover the true power of connection, not just through wires and cables, but through people. It's a tale of transformation, teamwork, and the magic that happens when we invest in the tools and the community that make teaching and learning possible. Now, please silence your devices and enjoy the show. Because as we're about to see, even the grumpiest technology skeptic can learn that sometimes a little holiday spirit is all it takes to save the day. Welcome to an AV Christmas Carol. Let the story begin. Act 1, Scene 1. Good enough for AV. The setting is Scrooge's office in the university's AV department, cluttered with outdated equipment and stacks of budget spreadsheets. The lighting is dim, with only a few flickering fluorescents overhead. A budget-cut Champions plaque hangs crookedly on the wall. E.B. Scrooge sits at his desk, hunched over a laptop with a cracked screen, typing furiously. Bob Cratchit, wearing a worn University AV polo, works nearby, fidgeting with a broken lavalier microphone. He's trying to get it working for a professor who needs it for a lecture.
Let's see. Cut that cord here, snip a little bit off the classroom sound budget there. Just saved us $18.50 on adapters. Excellent.
God. Slap a reindeer and light the fireplaces. It's a Christmas miracle.
Did you say something over there, Cratchit?
What? No, everything's fine. No, sir. Just marveling at your efficiency. This one might take a little bit of holiday cheer to fix, though.
Holiday cheer. Waste of time and resources, that's what it is. You know, Cratchit, back in my day, we didn't need fancy microphones or projectors brighter than the sun to teach a class. We just spoke louder.
Yes, sir. But, well, Professor Simmons' voice doesn't quite carry in that big lecture hall anymore, and that mic has been dropping out all semester. I think it's time we...
Replace it? With what? With what money, Cratchit? Just slap some more tape on it. It's good enough for AV.
Right. Good enough for AV. Let's just cut the buttons off the remotes, too.
There's a knock at the door. Enter Fred, a faculty member, and Scrooge's nephew, cheerful and holding a festive box of cookies with a Happy Holidays tag on it.
Uncle Scrooge.
Oh, it's you again. What do you want, Fred? Haven't you got students to bore with all that active learning nonsense?
Always good to see you, too, in such high spirits, Uncle. I brought you some cookies. Thought I'd stop by and wish you a happy holidays and invite you and your faculty to our faculty gathering. We're setting up a PA system and might even stream a holiday movie for the students. It should be wonderful.
Holiday gathering? A faculty gathering's just an excuse to complain about budgets and whine about what they think they need to teach their classes. And streaming movies? Why, in my day, we had one film projector, and we made do.
Uncle, it's Christmas. Don't you think the students deserve something, nice? And what about the staff? They work hard all year. Maybe they deserve a little gratitude, too.
Gratitude? They're paid, aren't they? In fact, far too much if you ask me. Look at Cratchit over there. He's content as ever with what he's got. Isn't that right, Cratchit?
Oh, yes. Very content, sir. Be a little bit more content with some better equipment, though.
Oh, Uncle, I know there's still a heart in there somewhere. If we invested better in AV, we could make a real difference for our students. Education's changed, Uncle. The technology needs to keep up.
Technology? It's just an excuse for more requests and endless spending. And who's going to pay for it, huh? You? The students? No, the faculty just want everything handed to them on a silver platter.
Well, all right. I won't argue with you today, but just remember, there's more to this work than just balancing a budget. Merry Christmas, Uncle Scrooge.
And merry humbug to you, Fred.
Fred leaves, whistling a holiday tune. Bob tries to contain a smile as he listens to Fred's cheerful tune fading away down the hall.
He's right, Mr. Scrooge. We really do need some good around here. Just a little more support. I mean, just last week, Dr. Willis had to shout out half her lecture because the audio amplifier died. I mean, of course, you know what's best, sir.
I'll tell you what I know, Cratchit. I know this university's AV has run just fine on my budget cuts for years. And it'll keep running fine, too, so long as I have anything to say about it.
Yes,
There's a
of
flicker
course,
in the
Mr.
lights,
Scrooge.
and the hum of old equipment fills the room ominously. Bob shivers slightly. Bob exits the room, leaving Scrooge alone, tapping away at his laptop as the hum of the outdated equipment grows louder.
Humbug. The AV is good enough for this place. Good enough for anyone.
Act 1, Scene 2, Marley's Warning. The setting is now Scrooge's office in the AV department, late at night. The lighting is dim, with only a single lamp, and the eerie glow of his cracked laptop screen illuminating the room. Outside, faint holiday music from a faculty gathering can be heard from across the quad, muffled and distant. Scrooge sits alone, hunched over his laptop, muttering to himself as he types, completely absorbed in his work. The fans on his laptop grows louder, and the lights begin to flicker.
There we go. Another $12 saved on adapters. Let's see. What's next? If only these professors knew what it cost to really keep things running. Always asking for upgrades.
The lights flicker more intensely, and a soft, metallic clinking sound fills the room, like the rattling of old AV cables.
Now what? Probably Cratchit leaving equipment plugged in again.
The clinking grows louder, and the shadowy form of Jacob Marley appears in the doorway, flickering like a hologram with static interference. He's wrapped in a tangled mess of AV cables and chains, holding a cluster of 5-wire VGA adapters.
Scrooge.
What in the... Who's there? Is this some kind of prank from the students? I'm not in the mood for any of your holiday games.
Scrooge. Dude, do you not recognize me? It is I, Jacob Marley.
Marley? Jacob? But you left the university years ago. All right, very funny. This is some trick Cratchit cooked up, isn't it?
No, not a trick, Scrooge. I'm real, yet not. A relic. Cursed to roam the campuses. Kind of scary, right? Fixing classroom technology forever in the ghostly in-between.
Cursed to Rome, are you? Look, a few bad cables and you're acting like it's the end of the world. You always were a bit intense, Marley.
I was once like you, Scrooge. Cutting costs, dismissing pleas for upgrades, ignoring all of the needs of the students and staffs. Now look at me. I'm tethered to outdated cables. Forever doomed to fix projectors that don't turn on. Speakers that always buzz. And 323, the worst.
Oh, please. A few dead cables and a bit of tape. That's hardly a curse.
Oh, Scrooge, you don't even know what I've seen. There are consequences, man. There are consequences to ignoring those who rely the most on us. Your choices today ripple out, and your fate could be worse than mine.
Consequences? I run the AV department, and we get by just fine on my budget. Cratchit's got things under control, and students don't care as long as they can watch their precious TikToks.
Quiet. Just be quiet, Scrooge. I'm warning you. You will be visited by 3 spirits tonight. Each of them will show you what you are refusing to see. Take heed, for they bring the chance to save yourself.
3 spirits? This must be Cratchit's doing. Holiday cheer? I don't have time for this nonsense.
Ignore me if you wish, but know this. Every cut corner, every denied request, every frustrated student binds you tighter than these cables are binding me.
All right, fine. I'll play along. 3 spirits, sure. And when are they supposed to come knocking, huh?
The first one will arrive when the clock strikes 8. The second one, we'll call it 9-ish. And the third, well, they'll come in their own time. Don't waste this chance, Scrooge.
Marley's form begins to fade, his voice becoming distant and echoing.
Yes. All right. Very spooky. Now get out of my office or I'll call security. If I even knew where security was at this hour. They're probably all over at that holiday party wasting their time, too.
Remember, the future is yours to shape, Scrooge. Don't let your legacy be the chain of broken equipment and unfilled needs.
Marley fades away completely, leaving the room silent, except for the faint hum of Scrooge's laptop. Scrooge stands alone, visibly rattled, but trying to shake it off. He huffs, sits down, and stares at his screen, muttering.
3 spirits. Humbug. Probably just a prank.
He tries to focus on his laptop, but the screen flickers and the hum grows louder, seeming to echo Marley's warning. Scrooge looks around nervously, then returns to typing, forcing himself to ignore the eerie silence as the lights dim around him. Act 2, Scene 1. Echoes of the Past. The setting is again Scrooge's office. The room is dark and still. Scrooge sits at his desk, staring at his laptop with a mix of frustration and fatigue. The clock on the wall ticks closer to 8 p.m. Scrooge is dozing off, slumped over his desk with his head resting on his hand. The clock strikes 8, and suddenly a faint light fills the room. Slowly, a figure materializes, the ghost of AV past, glowing with a warm golden light, like the flicker of a warm CRT television.
Scrooge. AV Scrooge.
And you're reusing the cabling. Who's there, Marley? Is that you again? You've had your fun. I've got budgets to review and equipment orders to place.
No, I'm not Marley Scrooge. I am the ghost of AV past. I have come to remind you of what once was and what you once were.
Ghost of AV past? What kind of nonsense is this? Another prank? Wait a minute. You look kind of familiar. Do I know you?
In a way, yes. I represent every classroom you ever fixed, every AV project you ever believed in. And I've come to remind you of the passion you once had for this work.
Passion? All I have now are spreadsheets, support tickets, and damaged cables.
That wasn't always the case, was it? Take my hand and let me show you.
The ghost extends a hand, and reluctantly, Scrooge reaches out to take it. The lights dim, and soft, nostalgic music fills the air as the office transforms. Scrooge and the ghost now stand in an old classroom, filled with dusty chairs and an overhead projector. A younger Scrooge is in the room, excitedly setting up his first data projector.
What? I know this room. This was one of my first AV projects. Back when the tech was simple but effective. I'd stay late just to make sure everything was perfect.
Yes, back when you cared deeply about your work. And look, here you are setting up that projector. Do you remember how much pride you took in each task?
They watch as young Scrooge carefully positions the projector, testing the focus and alignment, then smiles with satisfaction as the image displays clearly on the wall.
Perfect. The professors are gonna love this. Maybe it'll even make their lessons easier to follow. I remember this. I wanted every classroom to be the best. It was about helping people back then.
Indeed. You saw AV as a way to support the students and faculty, not just a line item to be slashed.
But times have changed. The budgets are tighter. The expectations are endless. And no one even notices the work we put in. You can't survive in this field without being practical.
Practical, yes. Or is it just cynical? Watch again, Scrooge. There's more to see.
The scene shifts to another classroom. It's a few years later, and a slightly older Scrooge is in a meeting with a group of excited faculty members and students discussing AV plans for a new building.
That sounds great, EP. AV in this new building will make such a difference. Imagine students actually engaging with the material because they can see and hear everything clearly.
Absolutely, and I have some ideas that might even make it easier to operate. No more guessing which buttons to press. I remember I worked hard to make sure the technology didn't get in the way of teaching. I wanted it to be as seamless as possible.
That's right. You used to be an innovator, Scrooge. You cared about your legacy, about leaving behind systems that would stand the test of time.
times change. It's all about stretching every dollar.
Is that really what that you believe? Or is that what you tell yourself to justify the choices you make?
Listen, it's not my fault I have to work within the budget. No one can afford fancy systems anymore. It's about survival, not dreams.
Perhaps, but you weren't always so concerned with survival. There was a time when you had hope, when you believed in making a difference. Can you really say that you're happier now?
Scrooge looks away uneasy. He doesn't answer, and the scene shifts back to his dimly lit office. The glow from the ghost of AV past fades slightly, though the ghost remains.
I have shown you these moments to remind you, Scrooge. You once had a vision, but somewhere along the way you lost sight of it.
Maybe, but things are different now. What's the point in dreaming when you know it's going to be cut down to the bottom line?
That, Scrooge, is for you to decide. But remember, the choices we make shape not just our careers, but the lives of those we serve.
Enough of this. I don't need lectures from a memory of long time ago. Let's be done with it.
Very well, but remember what you've seen here tonight. You were not always the man you are now, and if you cannot find your way back, you will find yourself lost forever.
Nostalgia. That's all it was. Just silly nostalgia. Right?
Act 2, Scene 2, Lessons in Frustration. The setting is again Scrooge's office, moments after the visit from the ghost of AV past. Scrooge sits at his desk, staring at his laptop with a dazed expression, clearly troubled by the memories. The clock strikes 9, and a bright, almost blinding light fills the room. Scrooge shields his eyes as the light intensifies. Slowly, a larger-than-life figure appears, the ghost of AV present. The ghost is dressed in a sharp modern suit, with a confident stance and an air of energy and enthusiasm. They appear on an interactive LCD monitor and are surrounded by a faint glow, like the reflection of screens in a darkened lecture hall.
What now? First Marley, then the past. Am I ever going to get some peace tonight?
Peace? Oh, not tonight, Scrooge. I am the ghost of AV present, and we have much to see. There's no time to waste.
AV present, is it? What could you possibly have to show me that I don't know already? I oversee every system on this campus.
Oh, do you? Well then, let's take a little tour, shall we? Follow me.
The ghost of AV present snaps their fingers, and the office transforms into a bustling university hallway alive with the chatter of students and professors. Scrooge looks around, bewildered as they walk past classrooms.
Today is an ordinary day, Scrooge. A typical morning on campus. Let's see how things are going for those who rely on your systems.
They stop outside a classroom where Professor Bennett is frantically pressing buttons on the touch panel while students watch in frustration.
Why won't this work? I had everything working here yesterday. This is the third time this month.
Is the projector broke again? Class is half over.
I heard they cut funding again, probably why nothing works around here anymore.
Do you see, Scrooge? This is what happens every day in classrooms across campus. Professors lose precious time, students grow frustrated, and all because the systems they rely on are underfunded and neglected.
So one system's on the fritz. It just needs a reboot. It's not the end of the world. Professors need to learn how to improvise.
Relying on improvisation instead of reliable tools? Is that what education should be? Would you feel the same if it were your own children in this classroom, trying to learn under these conditions?
Well, maybe not, but I don't have the resources for every little request. It's impossible to keep up with every complaint.
Well, let's move on then. Perhaps you'll understand more as we go.
The scene shifts to a small office where Bob Cratchit sits at his desk, feverishly working on a video transmitter that's clearly outdated and malfunctioning. He flips dip switches slowly, grimacing with frustration each time the screen freezes. The space around him is cramped and cluttered with AV equipment in various states of repair.
Cratchit? What's he still doing at this hour?
Working late again, just like you asked. He's preparing for a system replacement tomorrow, but the equipment barely functions. He's had to repair half the gear himself because the budget doesn't cover replacements.
Well, he's a resourceful fellow. He always manages to get things done. That's why I hired him.
Resourceful, yes, but he's also overwhelmed. And he's taken all these extra tasks because he believes in the work. He wants the classrooms to run smoothly, just like you once did.
Cratchit sighs deeply, rubbing his eyes, and looks at the photo of his family on his smartphone lock screen, smiling sadly at it before setting it aside and resuming his work.
Is that his family?
Yes. His youngest son, Tim, is quite ill. They struggle to make ends meet, but Cratchit works hard to support them, even if it means long hours in a cramped office with outdated tools.
I didn't know things were that difficult for him. He's never mentioned it.
Perhaps because he worries you would not care. He's seen how you handle requests, quickly dismissed, even when they're desperately needed.
The scene shifts again, this time to a festive holiday gathering in a modestly decorated living room. Cratchit's family, including Tim, a small, frail boy with a bright smile, are gathered around a tiny Christmas tree. They laugh and talk, grateful for the small celebration despite their hardships.
This is the best Christmas ever. We even got a new tree this year.
Yes, Tiny Tim. And we have each other and our health, which is the best gift of all.
These are the people your choices affect, Scrooge. Every decision you make ripples outward, touching lives you may never see. They're trying to make the best of what little they have, yet you have the power to help them.
I hadn't realized. But why should I be responsible for every struggle of everyone on campus? The administration sets the budget, not me.
And yet you are responsible for how that budget is spent. You have the choice to support your staff, to advocate for students and faculty. You have the power to make a difference, Scrooge, if only you chose to use it.
But it's impossible to please everyone. There's always something that needs fixing, someone wanting more than I can give.
Maybe so, but there's a difference between doing what's easy and doing what's right. You once cared deeply about your work and the people it served. The passion could guide you again if you just let it.
The ghost touches Scrooge's shoulder gently, and the scene fades back to his office, where the dim glow of his laptop screen casts a cold light. The ghost of AV present begins to fade, leaving Scrooge alone once again.
Consider what you've seen here tonight, Scrooge. The present is but a fleeting moment, but it shapes the future. You still have time to change.
The ghost fades away, and Scrooge is left standing alone in his dimly lit office, visibly shaken and deeply conflicted by what he's witnessed. He paces the room, muttering to himself, trying to make sense of the images he's seen.
Cratchit, the students, little tiny Tim. I didn't realize.
He sits back at his desk, staring blankly at his laptop as the lights slowly dim around him, leaving him in shadow. Act 2, Scene 3, A Dark Future. Still in Scrooge's office, and still dark and silent, except for the dim glow of his laptop screen. He sits deep in thought, haunted by the memories of what he's just seen. The clock strikes midnight, and a cold, foreboding presence fills the room. The ghost of AV yet to come appears as a towering, shadowy figure with an aura of finality, draped in dark clothing that flows like the magic smoke escaping from a dying projector. Scrooge looks up, startled by the chill in the air. He recoils slightly as the ghost looms over him, silent and motionless.
Who are you? Another spirit? Are you the ghost of AV Future?
The ghost gives a slow, solemn nod, remaining silent.
You're here to show me what will happen if I don't change, aren't you?
The ghost extends a bony hand, pointing forward. The office walls dissolve, and Scrooge finds himself in a dark, empty lecture hall. The equipment is broken, displays are cracked, cables hang from the ceiling, and the room looks abandoned.
What happened here? This was one of our best lecture halls. State-of-the-art equipment, years of planning and installation. How could it all end up like this?
The ghost remains silent, leading Scrooge down a hallway where professors and students are gathered, frustrated and disgruntled. Scrooge overhears snippets of their conversations.
Another canceled class. This is the third time this month we've had technical issues.
Why do we even bother coming to class? Nothing ever works. Might as well just meet on Zoom.
Ever since the AV budget department was dissolved, it's been one nightmare after another. And they say there's no budget to even fix it.
No, this can't be right. Things were tough, sure, but the whole university can't just collapse because of a few budget cuts. Surely someone must have kept things running.
The ghost says nothing, instead guiding Scrooge to another office, a smaller, dimly lit space with peeling paint and malfunctioning equipment stacked haphazardly around. Scrooge sees a much older Bob Cratchit, exhausted and alone, still working at his desk with a pained expression. He coughs and rubs his eyes, clearly unwell.
Cratchit? He's still here? After all these years?
As he watches, a young student technician enters the room and speaks to Cratchit in a hushed tone.
Mr. Cratchit, I just want to say I'm really sorry about Tim. I can't even imagine going through what you're going through.
Thank you. It's been hard. He always wanted to go to college here, you know, a scholarship maybe, if he had a chance. But we did our best for the little guy.
No, not little tiny Tim. He was so full of life. This can't be because of me, can it?
The ghost points again, directing Scrooge's attention to a plaque on a wall. In memoriam, Tim Cratchit, honoring dreams cut short. Scrooge stumbles back, horrified.
Please tell me this is just one possible future. Tell me that this doesn't have to be. I can't let this happen.
The ghost is unmoved, turning and leading Scrooge back into the now abandoned AV department office. Dust coats the workbenches, papers are strewn about, and the space feels utterly lifeless.
No, not my department. It's been gutted, destroyed. This department used to mean something. It was the backbone of the campus. How could they just let it fall apart?
A group of faculty members walk by, discussing the state of the AV department.
It's a shame, really. AV support was essential, but when Scrooge was in charge, he cut corners and ignored our needs. By the time he was gone, there was nothing left to salvage.
Yeah, if only he cared more. Maybe we'd still have functional classrooms and students could actually learn here.
Scrooge listens, realizing with a sinking feeling the weight of his neglect.
Is there no hope? Nothing I can do to change this? Please tell me it's not too late. I didn't understand. I didn't know my actions would have such consequences. Is this who I've become? Ghost, spirit, don't leave me here, please. I'll change. I'll do better. I swear it. I'll fix this. I'll help Cratchit. I'll help the students, the professors. I'll put people first. Just please give me another chance.
Act 3, Scene 1. Dawn and a new beginning. It's now early morning in Scrooge's office. Just as the first light of dawn filters through the blinds, the office is quiet, but Scrooge stirs at his desk, looking around in disbelief as he realizes he has slept all night but is back in his office. His face shows relief, wonder, and a newfound energy. The weight of his visions has clearly changed him. Scrooge jumps up from his chair, clutching his desk, as he takes in his surroundings, overjoyed to be back in the present.
I'm here. I'm really here. It's morning. It's today. Oh, thank heaven.
He picks up his laptop, looking at his calendar filled with ignored meetings, budget reports, and complaints from faculty and staff. With a deep breath, he closes it.
No more of that. I've wasted enough time on numbers and projections while ignoring people. Today, it's time for action.
He hurries out of his office and into the hallway, where a few early faculty members and students pass by, surprised to see Scrooge smiling and walking with purpose. Scrooge notices Professor Bennett, the same professor he saw in his visions, struggling with a pile of books and papers.
Professor Bennett, allow me. Here, let me help you with those.
Mr. Scrooge? I didn't think you knew who I was, let alone cared.
Professor, I care more than you could know. I'm ashamed to admit I may have lost sight of that, but I'm here now. Tell me, how can I help you today?
Well, I have student project presentations coming up, but the AV system's been acting up again. I planned to go without it, but...
Absolutely not. No professor should have to go without the tools they need. I'll have my best people on it immediately, and if they can't fix it, I'll personally replace it.
Professor Bennett smiles, clearly taken aback by Scrooge's sudden enthusiasm.
Well, thank you, Mr. Scrooge. That means a lot.
Scrooge continues down the hall, beaming, as he encounters Bob Cratchit, who looks exhausted, but is surprised to see Scrooge in such high spirits.
Bob Cratchit, just the man I was hoping to see.
Oh, shit. Good morning, Mr. Scrooge. Is everything okay?
Better than ever, Bob. In fact, I've got big news for you. How would you feel about a little extra time off, paid time off, mind you, to spend with your family this season? And when you return, you'll find a new laptop on your desk and new test gear, too. In fact, I'm upgrading all your equipment.
Well, Mr. Scrooge, I don't know what to say. This is unexpected. I've got
Nonsense,
goosebumps.
Bob. Nonsense, Bob. You've given so much to this department. It's high time I showed you how much that matters. You and your family deserve the best. Speaking of which, I'm thinking about a fundraiser to help with little Tiny Tim's medical needs.
Mr. Scrooge, I've never expected this morning. Thank you. Truly thank you.
No need for thanks, Bob. Just knowing that you and your family are cared for is thanks enough.
The two share a warm handshake, and Bob, overcome with gratitude, hurries off to tell his family the good news. Scrooge then moves on, approaching a group of students who are chatting about how difficult it's been to learn with unreliable AV equipment.
Good morning, students. I couldn't help but overhear. Tell me, what's giving you trouble in your classes?
Mr. Scrooge, we've had issues with the AV in Barry 138. It never works right, and half the time we end up wasting time while the professor tries to get it working.
Yeah, and we just end up missing important stuff. It's been a mess this whole semester.
I'm sorry to hear that, but you know what? That changes today. I'll be sending a technician to take care of Barry 138 and any other rooms that need attention. You won't be left in the dark again, I promise you that.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Scrooge. That really is unexpected. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Remember, I'm here to help, and so is the AV department.
He moves through the campus, greeting more faculty and students with a warm, newfound generosity, stopping to listen and offer solutions for AV issues along the way. By now, everyone is murmuring in amazement, watching this transformed Scrooge who is prioritizing the needs of others over the budget. Finally, Scrooge arrives at a small room that serves as the AV department's nerve center, where several technicians, including Jamie and Larry, are gathered around a monitoring station, clearly stressed about the workload.
Gentlemen, how's the AV team this fine morning? And how are things with you, Jamie?
Oh, Mr. Scrooge, we didn't expect you.
Well, expect it more often, Jamie, because I'll be checking in regularly. Now, tell me, what do you need to keep this place running smoothly? New equipment? Extra hands? Larry, how about you? Just tell me and I'll make it happen.
Well, honestly, we've been stretched thin for a pretty long time. Maybe new projectors, updated control processors. We could probably use equipment replacement cycles just to keep us from scrambling all the time at the last minute.
Consider it done, Larry. From this day forward, we'll be investing in this department. No more shortcuts, no more just make it work mentality. We're going to do things right.
The technicians exchange stunned glances, murmuring their thanks as Scrooge gives each of them an encouraging nod. He heads back to his office, grinning as he sees a campus alive with hopeful, appreciative faces.
And this is just the beginning. I finally understand.
Scrooge sits down at his desk, typing an email to the university administration advocating for the AV department, detailing the needs of the campus community and pledging to build a sustainable and supportive AV program. He presses send with a look of quiet satisfaction. Act 3, Scene 2, the faculty holiday party. The setting is the faculty lounge, decorated for the holiday party with lights, garlands, and a small tree in one corner. A soft, jazzy rendition of Deck the Halls plays in the background. Tables are set with snacks, drinks, and a few holiday treats. Faculty members and staff mingle, chatting and laughing. Scrooge stands by the doorway, looking slightly nervous but determined. He adjusts his tie and steps forward. A few faculty members stop talking as they notice him, exchanging surprised glances. Professor Bennet, who had seen Scrooge earlier that morning, waves him over encouragingly.
Mr. Scrooge, I didn't expect to see you here tonight. Good to see you joining us.
Well, good evening, Professor Bennett, and please call me EB. I realize it's about time I got out to know the wonderful faculty that we have here a bit better, and I can see I've been missing out.
A few faculty members murmur, clearly taken aback at Scrooge's change in tone. Professor Lopez, a history professor known for her dry wit, approaches, raising an eyebrow.
Well, well. Is this the same Mr. Scrooge who once said the faculty holiday party was a drain on resources?
Guilty as charged, Professor Lopez. I'm afraid I've said a lot of things I'd like to take back, but I'm here to start over.
You're full of surprises tonight, Scrooge, but I won't say no to a fresh start.
A group of faculty members near the refreshment table glance over, whispering to each other. Scrooge hesitates, but steels himself, making his way over to them. He picks up a cup of cider, and they watch him with a mix of curiosity and disbelief.
You mind if I join you? I've spent enough years working with all of you from behind a desk. I figure it's high time I understand what you truly need and listen.
We could use more of that around here, Mr. Scrooge. It's been tough having our AV requests dismissed so often. Not to bring up work at a party, but...
Please, bring it up. There's no better time. The whole point of these gatherings is to build a real community, right? I'm here to learn, and I'd like to start by hearing what's been missing.
A few other professors glance at each other, intrigued. Professor Davis, a chemistry professor, steps forward with a mischievous smile.
In that case, Scrooge, how about we start with those unreliable projectors in the chem labs? I've lost count of the times they've gone dark mid-lecture.
Professor Davis, I've seen those projectors. Even I'm surprised they still function. I tell you what, I'll get new ones ordered over the winter break.
The crowd murmurs approvingly, a few people smiling and nodding. The ice is slowly melting.
And what about training for adjuncts and new hires? Half of us don't even know how to work some of the equipment ourselves.
Absolutely. I've already told Bob to start drafting a training program for the entire faculty with real hands-on sessions. You won't be left to fend for yourselves anymore.
Here's to that. A new era for the AV department. And who would have thought AV Scrooge would be the one to make it happen?
The crowd laughs, and Scrooge, blushing slightly, raises his own cup.
And thank you, Professor Lopez. To fresh starts and better connections, both with technology and with each other.
The group clinks glasses, laughing and cheering. The atmosphere relaxes, and the music picks up slightly. The party continues, with Scrooge mingling and chatting warmly with more faculty members, listening attentively to their concerns, and sharing in the holiday cheer. He's genuinely enjoying himself, laughing and exchanging stories with people he once barely acknowledged. As the evening winds down, Bob Cratchit appears in the doorway, smiling as he watches Scrooge fitting into the crowd. Bob catches Scrooge's eye, and Scrooge waves him over.
Bob, join us and have some cider.
Ah, Mr. Scrooge, if I didn't know better, I'd say you're enjoying yourself.
I am, Bob. I really am. It took me long enough to realize that it's all these people, our students, our faculty, our staff, even you. They're the ones who make this place special, not the spreadsheets and not the budgets.
Welcome to the heart of campus, Mr. Scrooge.
Well, thank you, Bob. I'm glad to finally be here.
As they both raise their glasses, the crowd gathers around, chatting warmly with Scrooge, sharing jokes and stories, fully accepting him into their circle. Scrooge stands among them, transformed and filled with genuine happiness and purpose. Act 3, Scene 3, The Future's So Bright. The setting is now a few weeks later. The university campus is bustling with activity as students return from winter break. Faculty and staff gather in a large multi-purpose room, chatting and laughing. The staff is excitedly talking about the recent improvements Scrooge has implemented. Scrooge stands off to the side, observing the happy crowd with a smile. Bob Cratchit joins him, carrying a cup of hot cocoa.
Mr. Scrooge, this is just fantabulous. Everyone's saying they've never seen the campus AV department so, well, alive.
Well, it was time, Bob. Time to stop scrimping and start listening. And if it took a few visits from some very persistent spirits, well, I consider myself lucky.
The new AV support hotline was also a fantastic idea. The faculty are thrilled with the planned upgrades. I think it's really hard to believe just a few weeks ago we were barely getting by. Now it feels like we're truly making a difference.
Honestly, that's all thanks to you, Bob, you and the rest of the team, and I should have seen it long ago. How much work you put in, how much heart. I was too caught up in the numbers, but not anymore.
As they talk, Professor Bennett approaches, beaming, with a small gift box in her hands.
Mr. Scrooge, I just wanted to thank you. Thanks to you, my classes have been going so much smoother, and I actually look forward to lecturing again. Here's a little something from some of us in the faculty. We all chipped in.
For me? Well, this is just perfect. Thank you, Professor.
Suddenly, there's a chorus of greetings from the doorway as Mrs. Cratchit and Tim enter the room. He's healthier and walking with crutches, but looking much stronger than before.
Mr. Scrooge, we came to say thank you too.
Why, Tim, look at you. Stronger every day. And how's school?
It's great. I'm learning so much.
We couldn't have done it without you, Mr. Scrooge. Your generosity has meant the world to us.
Well, I'm honored, Mrs. Cratchit. Honored to help.
Larry and Jamie, the AV techs, approach Scrooge with big smiles and bigger coffee mugs.
Mr. Scrooge, I've got to hand it to you. I never thought I'd say this, but you've turned this department around. Hasn't he, Jamie?
Absolutely, Larry. And now that we're fully staffing up and better equipped, I'm actually excited about all the things we can do here.
And it's all thanks to the two of you, whatever your names are, the backbone of this department. Let's make the AV team the pride of campus.
As the crowd mingles, Scrooge steps forward, raising his mug of cider, addressing everyone with a warm and humble smile.
Friends, thank you all for being here. I owe each of you an apology for the years I spent buried in reports and budgets, forgetting that this campus is made up of people, not numbers. I lost my way, but thanks to a few unusual friends, I've found it again. And from now on, the AV department is here to serve you, to make your lives easier, your classrooms better, and your days just a little brighter. So here's to a new beginning for all of us. Thank you for this opportunity.
The crowd cheers and raises their cups, toasting to the future. There's a joyful, hopeful energy in the room as everyone celebrates together. Bob picks up Tim and he raises his mug, calling out over the crowd,
God bless us, everyone.
Everyone laughs and claps as the scene fades, with Scrooge beaming, surrounded by his staff, faculty, and the Cratchit family. The AV department has a fresh start, and Scrooge has finally embraced his role as a leader, friend, and compassionate director. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us tonight for an AV Christmas Carol. We hope you enjoyed our modern take on this timeless story, a tale of reflection, transformation, and the magic that happens when we listen, collaborate, and invest in the people around us. Like E.B. Scrooge, we've all learned that the tools we use, the teams we support, and the connections we foster truly make all the difference. First, let's give it up for our amazing cast who brought these characters to life with humor, heart, and energy. E.B. Scrooge, the miserly AV director, portrayed by Christopher Dector. Bob Cratchit. Scrooge's hard-working lead AV tech, played by Justin Rexing. Jacob Marley. Scrooge's former boss, brought to life by Jamie Reinhardt. Professor Bennett, a well-meaning, supportive professor, performed by Rachel Bradshaw. The Ghost of AV Past, performed by Larry Darling. The Ghost of AV Present, played by Mark Kolowazinski. The Ghost of AV Future, brought to life masterfully by Justin Rexing. Fred, Scrooge's nephew and a faculty member, performed by Justin Rexing. Larry, a stalwart AV technician, portrayed by Jamie Reinhardt. Jamie, a devoted AV technician, portrayed by Larry Darling. The parts of Professor Lopez, Professor Davis, Professor Nelson, Tiny Tim, and the various unnamed faculty, staff, and students are all fake people and were all portrayed by computer models and nonsense. It might as well have been a speak and spell. Now, let's hear it for the behind-the-scenes magic makers who made this production possible. Director, Christopher Dector. Original script by Christopher Dector. Artwork by Christopher Dector and AI. Music and lyrics, Christopher Dector and AI. Sound effects by Christopher Dector. Editing and soundscapes, Mark Kolowazinski. And my name is Jerry Langford, and it's been my pleasure to once again be your narrator for this evening. We'd also like to extend a special thanks to the fine folks at Independent Amalgamated. Finally, as we leave you tonight, let's all take a moment to remember the lessons of our story. Let's value the work we do, the tools we use, and most importantly, the people who make it all happen. On behalf of the entire cast and crew, we wish you a joyous holiday season, full of warmth, connection, and a little extra AV magic. God bless us, everyone. Follow the AV SuperFriends on social media. You'll find them on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Blue Sky. Just search for the AV SuperFriends, because we're not just fixing AV nonsense, we're building a community of AV nonsense.
Oh, Scrooge, the AV director, he's miserly as can be. He'll cut a cable, trim a cord to save a little fee. Our projectors flicker out of sync, the mics are static-key. And Scrooge says, good enough for now, what more should AV be? Oh, tidings of budget slashing and cables patched with tape. Our screens are small, our audio dull, still using videotape. The faculty, they beg and plead, our classes need this gear. But Scrooge will laugh, he'll scoff and sneer, the budget's tight this year. He'd rather push some bargain bin than see our systems clear. While echo, hum, and hiss abound, no sound to students' ears. Oh, tidings of budget slashing and cables patched with tape. Our screens are small, our audio dull, still using audio tape. Bob Cratchit works with all his might to fix what's falling through. He tries to get the cameras right while rebooting one by two. Some holiday would be so nice, he mumbles, tired and blue. But Scrooge just growls, our tech's just fine, it's only needing glue. Oh, tidings of budget slashing and cables patched with tape. Our screens are small, our audio dull, still using videotape. So faculty and students wait, their patience running thin, while Scrooge still guards each penny saved like some great treasured win. But little does he know tonight, the spirits will begin to show him how a changed up tune could let true learning in. Oh, tidings of future blessings and AV's bright new fate. With screens so clear and sound so crisp, no longer second rate.